feeling like I'm academics. Can't ride no wave.
But I'm here. Okay. All right, people. So these court dates this week, and I think, thank you to Myron. By the way, we did a late broadcast yesterday. If you guys didn't see, you guys should go watch it. Really good breakdown. Like, I think amazing breakdown last night. If my voice sounds a little bit weird, I'm going to have to turn the mic up a little bit. Let me turn this up. Mic check. Let me turn this up a bit. All right. Should be a little bit better. Okay. Let me turn it up even a little bit more. Chat, this is one of them ones where, like, if I do too much, my voice is gone. So it's not going right now, but it's in the middle stage. Okay, so turn this down. All right. So this week in court, by the way, you guys got to watch the breakdown I did with Myron. This week in court is a very interesting but important week. We never knew this info, but apparently it looks like the judge has authorized a new schedule for court. They're doing from like 8 to 3 or 9 to 3, which is only about like 6 or 5 hours. But the whole goal and aim of this is to not get the jurors to burn out, because this is going to be a lengthy trial. They said 8 weeks. I don't know if it's going to be 8 weeks, but even then, anything beyond like 4 or 5 weeks is going to be one of those. Okay. So please, you guys are going to have to bear with me a little bit again. I'm going to have to make myself some tea. My voice is sounding crazy. He said, drink some tea with honey. I'm about to go make some. I'm going to catch up on tweets, though. Okay. So, real quick. And I hear that today's supposed to be a bombshell day as well. So, for all the people who loves all the salacious details that we keep getting down to this trial, like, for example, Diddy smearing, baby batter or, like, nut on his chest, which was this male prostitute nut on his chest. Apparently, this guy who was a personal assistant, he has some stories too. Like, supposedly Diddy tried him or Diddy fucked him or something of the sort. So we're gonna see if he testifies to that. But the current guy on the stand, his name is David James. He was a former assistant of Diddy. Diddy's whole thing, or the government's whole thing, is this: Diddy continually used assistants, securities, his chief of staffs, and others to basically do his bidding. Now, some of them knowingly, some of them unknowingly. Most of them were too scared of him, but definitely scared to lose their job and their income. That's one of the reasons they're saying this is a racketeering situation, but they're not saying that everybody was aware or willing. Okay. So essentially, Agnafilio starts out the day, and he's vehemently opposing that David James, who was the assistant at the time, should be able to testify about the incident with Suge Knight. Remember, the whole incident, he was having a freak off, Diddy and Cassie. Somebody comes in and says, yo, Diddy, Suge Knight's up at this restaurant or he's somewhere in town. Diddy's like, fuck the freak off, which that's how you know it's serious. Went to grab his guns, or him and his people went to grab guns and go see about Diddy. Or not Diddy, Suge. And according to what Cassie said, she was almost like in tears because she didn't want him to go. Okay? Now, he says he's going to mention D-Rock say he's a friend of Biggie. That was decades ago. That's not relevant. Now, sorry. The reality is this. Diddy's lawyers keep fighting every day, consistently, to not allow a overwhelming amount of people to testify to what's essentially hearsay. And again, even if they get their stories wrong, you could poke holes in their stories. If everybody's saying the same thing, eventually it's like, yo, that nigga did it, right? They're trying to see the relevance of some of these stories. He's not charged with violence against Suge Knight. He's not charged with having guns. Why the hell do we need to hear about the incident with Suge Knight? Now, the government's going to say, well, the incident with Suge Knight is relevant because it shows not only him being violent, but also it shows what happens when a freak off is interrupted. So remember, he was in the middle of a freak off, then that happens, okay? Agnifilio and Diddy's lawyers haven't been that successful in limiting the scope of people's testimony to make sure they're not saying the same thing 20 times. Because some of these people were partied or witness to it, they get to be able to say their side or what their personal account is. And again, the jury's just soaking this up. Now they're hearing the story 5 different ways, but if you hear it 5 different ways, that should probably happen, right? Okay. So the personal assistant, David James, did take the stand. The judge welcomes everybody in. They're actually, they're missing 4 jurors, okay? And look like they say, okay, we're going to come back. And look like within about 15 minutes or so, the jurors have arrived late. And Slavic, who's the AUSA, says he's now questioning James. He says, what about the physical violence between Cassie and Combs? Now, this is very interesting. And I want to preview what I think, or tell you out what I believe Diddy's strategy is. I think they're breaking the case up into 2 halves. The first half is Cassie, and then people who could support Cassie. Cassie's best friend, the security guard that was in the hotel when she got beat, when we seen the video, Diddy's bandmate, or his employee Dawn Richard, who used to be Cassie's friend. Everything is still. That's why you see them constantly asking about Cassie. There's another victim. Her name is Jane Doe. Well, her pseudonym is Jane Doe. We're not talking about her. They're only talking about Cassie. So I would imagine at some point they're gonna have to bring in some new witnesses to testify to Jane Doe, because right now it's all about Cassie. I feel like everyone has testified that they have seen Diddy put hands on Cassie, right? So they're like, what about the physical violence between Combs and Cassie? Did you personally observe it? James says, no, I did not. The AUSA says, do you remember a blog post? And David James says, yes, I was in LA when he came back from the club. Now I don't know what blog posts they're talking about, but we'll maybe find out in a roundabout way. Slavic says, what did Mr. Combs say? James says that someone was lying on him, that someone says he hit Cassie. Oh, I think they're talking about like a media takeout post or some like blind item post. It was like one of those salacious websites that never gives you a source and sometimes could be incorrect or not, because they're hearing through the grapevine, or hearing through someone that knew someone that might know, okay? It says someone was lying on him, saying he hit Cassie in the club. He went through my browser history. No one had ever done that to me. So it looked like this guy started asking Diddy about this headline. And Diddy's like, the fuck are you doing? Diddy denies it. But Diddy started going through his browser history. Maybe Diddy thought he said something. Or maybe Diddy thought he was looking this thing up too much. He says, did Mr. Combs give instructions about Cassie? David James says yes, to bring her food at a London hotel. So never mind. He must have known. Because remember, Cassie was beaten up and sent to the London hotel to recover. So he must have knew Cassie was not in a shape to be in public. So I guess Diddy went through his browser history because Diddy was probably trying to figure out, did he spill the beans to the press or whoever else that Cassie got her ass whipped, right? AUSA says, what's Roscoe's? David James says, and you can tell he has some charisma and spunk. Pause. He says, some delicious ass fried chicken in LA. Slavic says, what did you do for Combs in New York? He said, I'd bring him applesauce, Jello, Fiji water, his toiletry bag with ointments just for men. We bought 40 items so he wouldn't call us later. I'd get a key like at the Trump International. David James then says, I'd set up the medicine bag in the personal LV bag. AUSA says, what was in it? Viagra, ecstasy, perks. And then they said, how'd you go about replenishing these supplies? He said, I'd use my personal credit card. Bad boy paid me. AUSA says, who paid you back? David James says, usually bonds. Now, this is important. What the AUSA is doing is they're trying to create this hierarchy and structure. They're creating the organization. How did you get reimbursed? When you bought things, now they're not saying he bought the drugs, but he bought like those personal care things, I believe, the Just for Men, the ointments, and all these other things. He's saying, and he's pretty much put it in a hierarchy that Bonds would give him money back, right? So it looked like maybe he would bring it to the room. Roger Bonds is probably guarding the room or something, or wherever they were. And then Diddy, for whatever reason, would hand the money to the security to pay him rather than pay him directly. I don't know what's the deal with that, but okay. Because why would you have the security pay your personal assistant? Whatever. Says, did Mr. Combs ever stay alone in hotels? James says never. Usually Cassie, sometimes other women. AUSA says, did he ask you for things during the stay? He texted me for an iPod or food. Slavic then says, did anything strange ever happen? David James says, yes, in Miami. He asked for an iPod from his house on Star Island. I drove to his hotel and knocked. No answer. I had the key because I like to set up the room. So what did you see? I seen Cassie on the bed. David James says, there was another person who sort of scurried away and the shower was on. I thought Mr. Combs was in there. AUSA says, how is she sleeping? David James says, on her back. Now remember, we keep hearing about Cassie getting peed on and whatever, and she's laying on the ground with her mouth open on her back. I'm not too sure if that was it, but it looked like she may have been sleeping maybe on a bed. Agnophilia objects to it. Judge sustains it. Okay? So, new line of questioning. All right. Slavic then says, what about the other person? James says, he was 5'8" with long hair and a large endowment, which means big dick. He scurried away. That's crazy. You ain't see the nigga, but you seen his dick. That's crazy. That is crazy. Chat, that's crazy. If you walk in a room and you just see a nigga just run past you, and the only two things you could notice, or three things, he was about 5'8", long hair, big dick. That's crazy. So did you ask anything? He said, I wasn't hired to ask about their personal affairs. Slavic says, did you ever pick up drugs from Mr. Combs? James says, yes, Percocet at pharmacies, sometimes in my name. AUSA says, did you give him permission to use your name? David James says, I don't recall that. AUSA says, was there a drug dealer? James says, yes, one stop. By the way, that drug dealer got to go down in history. Sells Plan Bs, condoms, abortion pills, weed, weed is marijuana, perks, ecstasy, cocaine. He sells it all. He's a one-stop shop. So did you ever take ecstasy? David James says, yes, I was drinking Ciroc. I took ecstasy. I was Diddy bopping. AUSA says, what do you mean? Bro, I was vibing. Again, chat, I'm going to be honest with you. These are the worst type of witnesses for the defense. The ones who are like ad-libbing, who like they try to tell jokes, they're too happy to snitch. Like if niggas up on the stand, like doing the YSL Woody, they're too happy to be up there, bro. Okay, so when he's like, yo, I was Diddy bopping. When he's putting that extra sauce on it, rather than just answer the questions cut and dry, Dawn answered the questions cut and dry, and to the point she was even a little bit annoying. She didn't want to be there. This nigga looked like he's having his moment, right? Yeah, I was Diddy bopping. So what do you mean? I was vibing, bro. AUSA said, did you speak with Combs about it? I guess taking ecstasy. David James says, he was reviewing footage of the party. David James says, we had a videographer who filmed the parties. He asked me, hey, Playboy, was that you dancing around at the party? I said, yes. He said, I'm going to keep the video in case I ever need it. Meaning? So the prosecutor says, meaning? So that's what Diddy said to him. Sorry. Diddy says, yo, was that you dancing around the party? I'm going to keep the video in case I ever need it. And the prosecutor said, what does that mean? He said that I'd be embarrassed. Slavic then says, did anything ever go missing? David James says, yes. They said a bracelet was missing. Uncle Paulie came to my hotel room and searched my belongings, and those are my girlfriend at the time. I said, could you have said no? Agnophilia said, objection. They said, move on. The reason why they're objecting, you're getting into this would have, could have shit, you know? And so what do you mean, could you have said no? Like, did you say no? That should be the question. Slavic says, did you ever have to take a lie detector test? David James, who's a personal assistant, says yes. AUSA says, who was present? David James says, just me and this gentleman. It was very intimidating. They put monitors on my head, on my chest, on my hand. AUSA says, could you refuse? And they didn't object there. He said, not to keep my job. Slavic says, did this happen again? James says, yes, when Combs said a watch of his had been stolen. What was the result? The gentleman told me I seemed nervous. I said, sure I am. James then says, once Capricorn had to take a lie detector test to prove she wasn't part of the heist of Combs' jewelry. Slavic then says, was there an incident at Mel's Diner with Suge Knight? James says, yes, I drove the Silver Navigator to get cheeseburgers there. James says, D-Rock said, that's motherfucking Suge Knight. He went over there and said, what up? Suge didn't recognize him. D-Rock says, I'm Biggie's boy. AUSA Slavic says, what happened next? James says, we noticed 4 black SUVs to different sides of the parking lot. James says, I saw someone hand Suge Knight a gun. D-Rock said, we got to get out of here. We drove back to the house. Slavic says, oh, damn. So it looked like when they pulled up on Suge Knight, they thought they was going to punk Suge Knight. D-Rock, who Suge Knight doesn't know, like, you know, his face, he comes over, and I guess it's a burger spot, and he's like, what up, homie? Suge's like, what's good? He says, yo, I'm Biggie's boy. So now Suge is on point, like, oh, word? But then, I guess they didn't realize Suge wasn't dolo or Suge wasn't light. There was 4 SUVs parked on the side of the streets, and apparently Suge basically starts to tool up, gets a gun, and they said, let's get the fuck out of there. Yeah, I know Diddy brave. He ain't that brave, okay? Yo, Diddy had one of them hold me back moments, like, yo, let's go kill that nigga. He with 4 cars? All right, now let's go back to the crib. I got to get my freak off going, okay? All right, bet. He said, what did you find there when they got back to the house? Cassie was crying. Mr. Combs got in the vehicle. I saw 3 guns on his lap. David James says, I felt calm because we'd been in a silver vehicle, not a black one. They wouldn't see us coming. Okay? So it looked like they doubled back. Slavic says, what did you find at Mel's Diner? He says, Suge Knight had left. Mr. Combs said, drive around the block. Oh, shit. So, wait. So what did you decide? David James says, to leave the company. They offered me the position, but I just wanted to leave. My life was at risk. Slavic says, no further questions. Agnifilio, that's Diddy's lawyer, they said, you didn't tell all this the first time. And again, they're going with the same strategy here, Chad. The strategy is your story has significantly changed since you've said this to the prosecutors in an interview, or if you've ever said it in a book, tweeted, interview, or just interview publicly, or possibly in in a lawsuit, right? So that's the strategy. I don't know if it's that effective because we're kind of hearing a lot of different parts of these stories consistently now. But they're going to try it. Agnifilio is going to stand up, and let's see what he says. Okay. And by the way, keep in mind if we're trying to say this is a racketeering or a corrupt organization, as RICO implies, the dude says he left the company. He says he felt his life was at risk, left the company. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily someone who's forced to be in a racket. You're working for a hip-hop artist. There's a high level of risk and possible violence that's associated with that. You came close to it. You didn't say no, even though you know, a lot of these people have this idea, or they're going under the pretense of, I needed to keep my job. Completely get it. I needed to keep my job. But to what extent is that the coercion that is going to make it seem to a jury or anyone else that you're part of this corrupt organization or criminal organization that essentially is doing all these crimes on Diddy's behalf? When he wanted to leave the company, it looked like he was allowed to leave. Right? That's going to be a thing, and let me see if Mark Agnifilio gets into this. Because part of some of the things he's accused of, we need to see Diddy, prevent people from leaving or doing the right thing or turning him in. Now, granted, Diddy did say, not Diddy, but James did say he took a video of me, and that video I think we all could assume could have been for blackmail purposes, okay? Okay. So I'm surprised the government stopped the cross here. We're gonna see what or not stop the cross, stop the direct here. So we're gonna see what happens with Agnifilio. Um, some of these people we don't know. I wish I could get like a David James. Who's this?
So we have Drixon Kaiser here too. She's college.
Supporting yourself. The better things are in your community, you have to do it.
Yeah, to do this.
Huh. Has this guy ever done an interview? David James Diddy. I'm guessing he must have been under NDA. Had to be, right? Oh, is David James a white guy? That's interesting if that's true. By the way, I was looking for this yesterday. I didn't get to find it. We're waiting for the new tweet chat.
What is your big takeaway from court today?
I think that
that was yesterday with Don Richard and the first half of David James' testimony.
Testimony that Don Richard gave and the defense really going in on some of the inconsistencies were the takeaway. So there were moments today where the defense was asking Don Richard, which, as you know, was a member of Danity Kane and another group that Combs had from 2004 to 2011. And what we heard today was Don Richard admitting that she was not sure why she didn't make some of her proclamations of who was at a party during an alleged assault. She said that she didn't know why she didn't say certain things in previous interviews with prosecutors.
Right. And some of those people that she failed to mention were A-list celebrities.
A-list celebrities, that's right. So there was an instance where Don Richard mentions an assault that happened at a restaurant. And she mentioned some of the names of people that Combs worked with. But when the defense asked her, well, what about the celebrities? You said there were celebrities there. Why didn't you mention those names? And she said she wasn't sure.
Wow.
But some of those names were Usher, Jimmy Iovine, she said, and Neo. She remembers being there.
You described today and the cross with the defense and Dawn as being ping pong. How so?
Yeah, so I think that it was such a rapid fire of questions from the defense when she was asking Don Richard about some of those inconsistencies that you could literally see the jurors looking back and forth at the defense and then at Don Richard. So that was the first time that I had seen that, as there was so much quick back and forth when the defense was making her arguments to Don Richard and questions really about some of those inconsistencies.
Wow. So Dawn finished her testimony today. She claims at one point that Diddy...
By the way, we also figured out that, remember Carrie Morgan, the woman who got hit with a wooden hanger in the back, supposedly behind her ear? She settled, so Diddy gave her $30,000. By the way, if you know, I'm always pocket watching. For Diddy to go undiscovered to the masses for this long, we have to analyze the means and methods how he did this. It's clear that Diddy was paying people off. Odie got $5 million. Well, I mean, the whole shebang is over now. So Cassie got $20 million. That's $25 million. 30,000 goes to Carrie Morgan. And I'm only saying these numbers to kind of like give you the idea that for you to do what Diddy did, you have to be playing with the bank account that Diddy has. You have dozens of security and staff personnel who are constantly cleaning shit up. And the thing with Diddy that we noticed, he was down to get his hands dirty. Like he was down to go whip a nigga's ass or grab a bitch up or do what he had to do to try to protect it and keep that level of fear. But if it ever got out of hand, he would try to intercept it even by using other people, whether it's Cassie or somebody else, and he would pay. So he was a guy with many different means to keep his secrets secret. And, you know, a lingering question is still there for me, which is, what happened if somebody wanted more than he was willing to give? Because we hear Don Richard saying, yo, if y'all talk about this, somebody dies. Now, granted, with the Odie situation, he paid the $5 million, but say someone at that time that he could have had access to. Remember, he's now on a federal investigation at that time. Say he's down to pay Shorty $30,000, and she's like, $30,000. Diddy, I want 300,000. I'm wondering if Diddy starts doing some movie-esque shit like, all right, you ain't gonna take my offer? Okay, I'm gonna fuck your life up. I'm wondering how far that goes. I don't know if we'll get full proof of it or full testimony of it, but I'm interested in that. Let me keep playing this and we'll get back to the tweets.
Had hit Cassie with a skillet and said, quote, he said you could go missing, that we could die. So what was the reaction in court to that statement?
Yes, so just to kind of set up the scene, the defense was saying, so did you say that Combs attempted to hit her with a skillet, or did he actually hit her with a skillet? She's pointing out that in several interviews, the story sort of changes, and Don Richard's response is, well, this was a long time ago, and sometimes my memory's, a little foggy, and I might remember things differently. But again, as a juror, if you're listening to that, it goes back to credibility, and you have someone that's facing serious time behind bars, so I think that's what they were trying to get at, that some of her stories weren't always exact to what she had previously told prosecutors. As it pertains to you could go missing. So the story goes, Don Richard said she witnessed abuse, and she said that Combs said, you will go missing. She took that as a death threat. So the defense then said, well, wait a minute, in 2020 and in 2021, you reached out to Combs to work with him again. So if you were so afraid of him, why then reach out? And that was a question that she had a really tough time answering. She did admit, though, that...
Don't worry, I timed out that guy on kick.
In fact, while I did feel threatened, and yes, he did say this to me, I did reach out to him during that 2020-2021 era about working together, about collaborating again.
What did Dawn claim in her testimony about seeing Diddy with guns
Big cap, I just gave you a mod over there.
and drugs?
So in the testimony, she talks about seeing him with a gun sort of like in his back, but she doesn't say he ever handled it. She never saw him cock the gun or do anything with it, but she does say that she witnessed Combs with a gun sort of in the back of his clothing. When it comes to the drugs, she said that there was a drug dealer named One Stop who would come and deliver not just cocaine or Molly or ecstasy, but she said that he also had Plan B and birth control. Again, this is the drug dealer that she said his name was One Stop.
Cassie's ex-best friend Carrie Morgan also took the stand. Tell us about her testimony and claims that she herself was also assaulted by Diddy.
That's right. So Carrie Morgan, a woman from Buffalo, New York, who's pursuing a modeling career, meets Cassie when they were in their late teens. She said that she was her best friend from about 2001 to 2018. And the reason that they stopped talking is because she was assaulted by Combs. Her former best friend acknowledged that because of that assault, she did receive a settlement and signed an NDA, but received $30,000. So what I thought was interesting, Rachel, for as much as we have already heard from Cassie Ventura about the number of times that she says she was beaten up and assaulted by Sean Combs, her best friend, again, who was around at that time when she was dating Combs, said that she only saw 2 times in which Combs was physical with Ventura, once in Los Angeles and another time in Jamaica.
Is this the best friend that Cassie told Diddy that he probably would be a better fit?
Correct, because this is around the same time that they met. Very good. Last week, during the testimony, there was an email that was shown where Cassie sort of attributes maybe Combs wants to get with her friend Carrie. So Carrie Morgan, again, they're not friends anymore, they don't speak, but this is the woman who's testifying today. So at the beginning, before the jurors came in, the judge talked about being careful not to make this sort of a gossip case, if you will, or a case built on gossip were his words. So what we're seeing is the judge actually acknowledging that there's concerns from the defense about some of the statements that are being able to be read in court or some of the evidence that's being able to be submitted. So there's this acknowledgement that, focus on the racketeering, focus on the...
And this is supposedly Diddy in court, like blowing a kiss. This is Brian Steele right next to him, Xavier Donaldson. It looks like this would be, I would think, Mark Agnafilio.
Elements of the crime, not so much on things that are hearsay or gossip-like. Thought that was interesting.
And these jurors are not sequestered by any means, right? So,
no.
I mean, you're not supposed to
Correct.
tune into news, read about it. I'm assuming now social media
Yeah.
is added to that list of things, but in 2025. How really is that possible?
And I have to say, this is probably the first trial where I've seen so much social media presence, TikTok, Instagram, bloggers, people out here. So even though you're not supposed to look at your phone and you're not supposed to read messages from family and friends about this case, there's a lot of information out there.
Right.
So hopefully they're doing their due diligence and making sure that they are being good jurors.
Yes.
But I imagine it would be tough.
This is the first day that we have not seen Diddy's kids in court. What does their lack of presence really mean or say to the courtroom?
That side looks a lot more empty, I can tell you that. And we know that Sean Combs' twin daughters were having their prom celebration this weekend. So I think that week one, it was clear that the presence was there. I'm sure the family wanted to be there knowing that Cassie Ventura would be testifying. But now as we're in week two, not the same presence. There are a few people that are obviously there in support of Combs. I saw a man dressed in a suit and Combs kind of looked at him and touched his heart. So he has some supporters there, but not nearly as many as we saw during that first week where we saw his mother. We've seen the mothers of some of his children, and things like that.
Wow. Okay. By the way, also give me a second here. I'm gonna get back to the tweets. I think I might have some transcripts and other things like that. So I got some good stuff for y'all today, chat. I got some transcripts. I got some transcripts. There we go. Oh wow. I have the transcripts. What day is this? Okay. So while going over this, I'm going to kind of scour through this a bit while going over this. Just give me 1 second. What day is this? What day is this? Trial. Oh, wow. I have transcripts for yesterday? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, wow. I got it, Chad. I got all this shit. So, you know the tweets we read yesterday? Forget the tweets. I have the court transcripts of what was said in court yesterday. Let me catch y'all up on today's tweets, and then we're going to go back. I'm going to show you what a trial transcript looks like. So I got the transcripts for yesterday. Also, I have Cassie's trial transcript. So we could go through exactly what she said. Remember, they could only tweet as fast as, they possibly could. Cassie's talking. So they're missing a few little things we could get to, All right, cool. Let me just refresh this. All right, chat. We got a little. By the way, we got also the pictures of the sex workers. The sex workers. Oh, here we go. Ooh, there we go. Oh shit. Are we cooking? Are we cooking with grease today? Yeah. Oh, we cooking, Chad. Hold up. Oh, shit. Nah, chat. We just turned to CNN. Real talk. Hold up. How do I open this? Preview. Oh. I knew I was the GOAT. I just knew I was the GOAT. There's no one else but Ak and the chat. I knew I was the GOAT. I knew I was the fucking GOAT. Chat, just spam GOAT emojis. Just spam it. Just spam it. Just spam it. There's only one GOAT. It's me. There's not even a big 3, not a big 2. It's just Big Act. It's only Big Act, bro. I kid you not. Hold up. Chat, I'm telling you. Chat. Nobody got this book. Well, I think nobody got this but me. Who knows? I'm not the GOAT if I'm not the only one that got this, chat. I'm not the GOAT. I'm not the GOAT if I'm not the only one that got this one. Okay. We're gonna catch up with these tweets later. We're gonna get to the shit. It's only one GOAT, chat. You gotta remember. Anytime niggas talk shit about me, you gotta just stop them in their tracks. There's only one GOAT. It's not 2. All right? There's 1. Here we go. Oh man, chat. Oh man, I got y'all. I ain't even overhyping it. I ain't even gonna overhype it. Where are we at with it? What the fuck? Damn, I knew it was the fucking GOAT. What the fuck? All right, here we go. Sorry, chat. I'm getting it. Oh, here. Chat. I knew God was gonna give me something today. I've been working too hard, and I can't get in my normal rant bag and shout bag today to really entertain y'all. So I knew God was gonna give me something to make it a little bit easier, and He did. Here we go, chat. Perfect. Okay. Yo, y'all want Myron's boots as a fucking emoji? Y'all look crazy. All right, hold on. Give me a second. All right. Unfortunately, well, we're gonna catch up on this. Remember, we got time to lunch, so I can read through these tweets real quick. This is the personal assistant. This nigga ain't on shit. Word too, like he ain't on shit. So we gonna get to y'all, like low key. Y'all know what we want. We want the bullshit. We want the bullshit. Like we want the bullshit, and is this motherfucker guilty or not? That's what we kind of on. Hold on, I got y'all, chat. I got y'all. It's only one Big Act. Here we go. Bingo. If you guys, we can't make shit boring here. So we got to keep shit going. By the way, it is, I think maybe shortly they're about to break for lunch or something like that. It's going to be a short lunch because it's a short day. So let's get into it. So here we go. So David James, after he saw that Suge Knight was about to almost get clapped, or Suge Knight was going to clap Diddy, pause, he decided to leave the company because he was driving the vehicle. And while driving the vehicle, he was pulling up on Suge Knight, and Suge Knight had mad vehicles there, okay? So he says it's too dangerous. He wants to leave. So he wants to leave the company. They offered him other positions, but he just wanted to leave. His life was at risk. AUSA says no further question. The judge says, Mr. Agnifilio, it says, you didn't tell me this the first time. James says, they told me to stop, to not say anything that would incriminate me. Agnifilio says, look at the notes from your interview. Read it to yourself, then look up at me. David James says, okay. That's interesting, chat. You know what's kind of implied right there? Remember, this is a state's or a government's witness, a federal government's witness. This is not a defense witness. You heard what Agnifilio said. This is first cross. He says, you didn't tell all the first time, right? He says, they told me to stop and to not say anything that would incriminate me. So it looks like he doesn't have a proffer. Now, a proffer is going to make sure these guys can testify and say usually whatever without them risking prosecution. Agnifilio says, looking at your notes from your interview, read it to yourself, then look up at me. He does. He says, how do you recognize Suge Knight? He said, I listen to hip hop. He said, were you drinking or smoking pot? No. Was your mind clear? He said, as clear as it could be. I was working 20 hours a week at 4 a.m. D-Rock opened the door. Suge Knight's a few cars over. He says, the window was open. D-Rock says, I'm Biggie's boy. Then Suge recognizes him, gives him a dap. What's a dap? Say a handshake. Did you leave D-Rock at a diner? Why are you smiling? Because that's a crazy question. Why would I? Said, did you leave D-Rock at the diner? Said, that makes no sense. Said, I'm not asking what makes sense. Did you? No. Agnifilius says, did you see Cassie and Mr. Combs? Yes, Mr. Combs told me to drive. You don't know where Mr. Combs got the guns, do you? I didn't know we had guns until then. Agnifilius says, have you ever been in a situation like that? Says, no. Say, you didn't say I don't want to drive to Suge Knight with guns? Nope. So apparently he said that before to the government before. What did you expect to do before you got this job? I was a door-to-door salesman, then personal assistant. Now were you going with guns to confront someone? Yes, it wasn't ideal. Combs, Agnifilius says, you knew how to get to Mel's Diner, right? I frequent there all the time. You've never seen guns before, right? Nope. This is a radical departure from your job description. Is that an understatement? It is the understatement of the day so far. Do you have immunity? Ask my lawyer. I have some type of offer agreement. And he says a proffer. So he does have a proffer. Agnifilius says, you ain't telling anyone about this? Only my wife. Did you meet with the government this morning? Yes, briefly. About what might come up in cross. Did Mel's Diner incident come up? Not that I recall. It's this morning. What did you talk about? Your style. And they start laughing. I guess his style of asking questions. Agnifilius says, I'm dying to ask what they said, but I won't. Agnifilius says, I got a few more mundane questions. By the way, this is he ain't not doing nothing on the cross. Like, Agnifilius is not doing shit. Where do you travel with Mr. Combs? Ibiza, London, Saint Tropez. Were these vacations? Not business oriented. What were you hired as? Personal liaison. But I was a personal assistant. He made a high level roster of people. It's a second understatement of the day. He's kind of being slick. So why? He met with a who's who. It was important that he be prepared for these meetings, right? James says yes. Agnifilius says it was important that he be on time, right? James says, nah. We'll change meetings to fit his schedule all the time when he didn't want to show up at a certain time. Agnifilius says he had security because people wanted to touch him, right? Yes, in the airport, at McDonald's. Was he gracious? I don't think gracious is a word I use for Sean Combs. Okay, did he sign autographs? No. Agnifilius says, you said he had stayed in the studio till 3 or 4 a.m. and you'll stay with him. James says, yes, it was common. Agnifilius says, what sort of things? Oh my, you hear Pluto? Yeah, I hear him? Oh yeah, okay. He stopped. What sort? It's his lunchtime. That's the thing. Oh my God. Chat. As soon as this goes to lunch, I'm gonna play a video and I'm gonna take this nigga out for lunch. And my other two upstairs. Agnifilius says, what sort of things would he want or always want to have with him? Ketchup, for example. Agnifilius says, do you know if he put applesauce on his cheeseburgers? No, but I knew he liked applesauce. Agnifilius says he liked Astroglides, condoms, and baby oil. But you didn't expense it through the business. Usually I wouldn't. James says, I was told he didn't want to run them through the company. He didn't want a record of them. When you bought the 8-ball of Coke in Saint Tropez, you didn't tell Mr. Combs, did you? He was asleep. Tell me about your relationship with Roger Bonds. James says, we talked about Bad Boy as a family. What do you mean? Mama Combs called me her son many times. What was the mission? To make sure he's happy, meaning Diddy. Was it fun? I enjoyed it from time to time. What was your relationship with Chef Jourdan? Professional. Did you choke her? No. AUSA says objection. The judge has a sidebar. Combs, Agnifilius says, tell me what happened. We were on Star Island. She told me where to take him. I grabbed her 2 wrists and said, stay in your fucking lane. Agnifilius says, was there a fallout? Yes, he was reported to corporate HQ. Mr. Combs called me in. So it looked like this guy put hands on the chef. David James says, Combs told me you can't be putting your hands on women. He told me to give her a gift. So that kind of helps Diddy's case. If Diddy was reprimanding him for putting his hands on women, maybe Diddy doesn't think that's normal. What did you give her? I rolled up a blunt and I gave it to her. Did she like it? It appeared like she did. You're in a car with Mr. Combs and who? Chris Lighty. Have you taken ecstasy? I'd party, sure. What were things in studio? What were the things in studio like? Drugs? Yeah, it was a creative environment. I didn't smoke when working with Mr. Combs, but he did catch you smoking once. I thought he was in for the night, so I lit up. He came out. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "If you're man enough to smoke, you're man enough to tell me." I said, "Okay, I'm smoking." He said, "If I did it again, he'd fire me." Agnifilio says, "How about when you picked up 2 prostitutes and had sex with one?" AUSA says, "Objection, 403. Overruled." He said, James says, "She asked for $200. I called Bonds and asked what the hell. She asked me to take a shower. I said, that's $200. Laughter. On that note, no further questions. Judge says redirect. Slavic says, "What about the incident in Alpine, New Jersey?" David James says, well, I had to file a police report to say that Chef Jordan was the aggressor, but I didn't file it. If I drove around and told him I had made a report. What have we asked you to do? To tell the truth. AUSA says nothing further. Recross. Agnifilio says, "You lied to Mr. Combs about filing a police report?" Yes. Agnifilio says nothing further. Says, "Could we have a break?" They're now on break. Okay. Then they're back. Jurors, I'm going to have to get the temperature turned up in here. I'm told it's complicated, but it's freezing right along with you. AUSA says the government call Regina Ventura. Ooh, that looks like that's Cassie's sister. "Where do you live? New London, Connecticut," or it might be her mom, actually. Probably her mom. "How many children do you have?" 2. It's her mom. "Roderick and Cassandra." "Who is this?" "Sean Combs. He dated my daughter." "When did you meet Sean Combs?" 2006. My daughter signed with Bad Boy Records. He was her boss. Then they started dating. Then they moved to LA. Read this message from December 2011. Cassandra wrote to me. She said Combs threatened to release a sex tape of her after her and Mr. Mescudi. How did you react? It made me sick. Diddy demanded $20,000, said he had to recoup the losses due to Mr. Mescudi from my husband and myself. AUSA says, "Why did you take a loan to pay Sean Combs?" What the hell? "For the safety of my daughter." So something happened. I don't know what happened, but they paid Diddy $20,000? AUSA says, look in the binder next to you. Ventura, so the mom looks in the binder. It says, "These are photos of my daughter's bruises from Sean Combs." Oh, wow. "Do you know Mia?" "She's an employee of Sean Combs." "What happened?" "We were in his kitchen laughing. Sean asked why she was laughing. She stopped and looked plain." Now to 2016. We're done with the binder. "While in LA, did you call the police?" "Yes. Sean Combs stole Cassie's phone. They had a bitter argument outside the apartment building. She lived on the 17th floor. They argued at the roundabout." Very interesting, chat. Very, very, very interesting. Okay, perfect. So we're hearing these stories again, just kind of told differently, right? Let me see how it's being
imperative not only for that specific charge, but also the racketeering charge, criminal enterprise, criminal activity, underlying crimes, all that. And we know the defense also pointed to issues of jealousy.
Let me read this last tweet. It said, who else is there? D-Rock. "Is Damian Butler his government name?" Regina says, "He was standing between us. I tried to hit him. Sean Combs took Cassie's car, a Jaguar." AUSA says, "No further question." Cross, what the fuck? Okay. And the defense has no questions for Cassie's mom. Wow. It's the first time. The defense has no questions. I think they're going to break here, or they're going to lunch. But they might not, because remember, they're going to get out in 3 hours. So Diddy stole Cassie's phone, that argument, then he took her car. I'm surprised they got no questions for the mom. But I guess the mom, yeah, I guess. Interesting.
Wonder, okay, you have an alleged victim testify and say,
By the way, they should be officially at lunch. Let me see. Let me just confirm. Oh, damn. Next witness. They call Mr. Sheree Hayes. So where are you from? Says, I'm from Harlem. What do you do? I'm a exotic dancer named the Punisher. Do you recognize these two? I do. That's Mr. Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura. I was hired in 2012 to create a sexy erotic scene for them. Why were you called the Punisher? Pause. I was playing basketball on West 4th Street. The woman who called you, what did she book you for? A midnight at Trump Tower, Central Park West. It was a striptease for a small group of friends. When you got there, how did Miss Ventura appear? She was in a bathrobe with nothing underneath and a wig. I was expecting a crowd, but there was no one else. She told me she and her husband just wanted to create a sexual scene with baby oil. What did she hand to you? $800. How was the room? Dimly lit, electric candles, bowl of water, bottles of baby oil in them. She told me not to acknowledge her husband, not to look at him when he came out. Did he come out? Yes. He was half naked. I couldn't see his face. It was like what a Muslim woman wears. You only see the eyes. He had a bottle of Astroglide. How did you recognize it? I use it. It has the purple top on it. Okay. So another sex worker testifying about freaky ass nigga shit.
It may look like I was consenting. It may look like I was on board. It may look like I was a willing participant, but that's not how I was feeling on the inside. That may be true, but from a criminal law point of view, to me it feels very, very difficult for the jury to convict or not.
So if I'm the prosecution and I have an expert up there, I'm going to say that we play roles in our life every day, right? We go to work and maybe we don't want to be in certain situations, but that's our job. So we play a certain role. And maybe what we project to the world is not how we truly feel, but we do it to cope. We do it to survive. We do it to get through. So I would start with that. And I think this is really going to come down to what we call psychoeducation, meaning we're going to have to really educate the jury in terms of how these psychological phenomena work. And the fact that people may seem like they're willing participants, they may seem like they're going along with it completely, but they're really not, because there is some form of duress, some form of coercion that they're responding to that may be immediately obvious. We don't know the timing of why this lawsuit occurred when it did. Maybe she came to the realization that all those years that she was traumatized, maybe she came to the realization for all those years that she was traumatized, that she was sexually assaulted, and that's why it happened. Or maybe there was some other intervening factor that we're yet unaware of.
Look, we've been talking about it a lot, but I believe that the psychological evidence, the expert testimony is going to be key here. We mentioned Dr. Dawn Hughes, who's going to be testifying for the prosecution, presumably about coping strategies, presumably about why alleged victims do not leave their alleged abusers, although she won't be allowed to testify about coercive control. That was ruled out. There was a whole discussion about why do you have to tell the jury about that? They can use their own common understanding about it. Plus, it might conflict with a legal definition of coercive control. But if we believe that's what Dr. Hughes is going to testify for the prosecution, what is the defense going to do? Well, we believe the defense is going to call their own forensic witness, forensic psychologist Dr. Alexander Barty. So, Dr. Bober, after everything we've...
By the way, they tried to disqualify or try to get the prosecutor to not bring like these witnesses that could possibly talk about the mind state of Cassie and basically interpret for the juror later on to say, hey, listen, based on what I watched or what I reviewed given Cassie's case, Cassie, even if she looked like she was in love, she was actually being manipulated, or she was not operating on her own free will, which, it gets real tricky, because when I look at this case, I see a woman who wants to be in love with a man and wants to do anything to get such man. That this guy has a lot of women on his D. Like, there's a lot of other women who wanted to be in that spot. She was beautiful. Diddy liked having her as his arm candy, and he loved the fact that she would do things sexually to please him. But Diddy didn't want to build a family with her. Diddy didn't want to marry her. And she wanted to get those things in life. She wanted the whole package. She didn't want to only get gifts, car, whatever paid for. She wanted to get married. She wanted the kids. She wanted everything. And what we saw was a woman who was down to compromise, maybe some things that she would do sexually, or, be docile enough or never argue with him and whatever. Like, sometimes women get in their mind about, well, the guy, he wants this, so I'm going to give him this. And if I give him this, I become the person he wants. It seems like that's what it was. And I think that's what Diddy wanted to some extent, but he didn't want that for marriage. I think the biggest problem here, and this is what I'm saying, I don't know if it's manipulation. It's like, he might have ran some game on her, but, bro, at the end of the day, bro, he gave you clear signals. Yo, I got a family over here. I'm going to bring my baby mama, Kim Porter, even though I left her supposedly for you. I'm going to bring her on vacation. I'm going to go with my kids. I'm going to spend family time. And you're going to sit there alone and you're going to watch me. You're going to watch online with me and my kids. He was telling you.
We've just talked about. What do you think the defense's expert is going to say?
I think the defense expert is going to say that at the end of the day, she had free will, that she had autonomy and independence, and that she could have walked away. I think that's what they're going to say. I think they're going to, if they're smart, acknowledge the fact that these phenomena exist, but that in this particular case, this went on for years, and she could have walked away. I think that's what they're going to say.
And maybe strike a little bit at that therapy to recall memories. I would imagine, maybe?
Yep, to try to undermine it, correct.
Battle of the experts, once again. Look, I think that this is a very, very important issue in this case. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can make the argument that this case rises and falls based on the testimony of Cassie. So this, to me, feels like a central issue. I'm happy we had a chance to talk a little bit more about it. Again, for anybody who's watching this, and I was putting these questions.
Yeah, I think they're doing breaks, maybe not lunch, because really, this is a 6-hour day. 9 to 3, right? How did it end? She went into another room with him. Okay, so basically, so he says she went into another room with him. When she came back, she asked if I wanted to finish. I said no. If they were happy, I was happy. She gave me more money. Did you do it again? Yes, 8 to 12 times. So it looked like that time he didn't come. But this was in 2012, people. 2012, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? 2012, right? Punisher. Oh, we didn't get a year? We didn't get a year. Okay, the judge did break. So it is lunchtime now. Okay? Chat, we're getting through this. We're getting through this. I'm trying to give as many voices as possible. I would love, to get a woman on stream because, I'm a man at the end of the day. I'm a man. So, like, when I read messages, I read it from a man perspective. I run game on hoes, too. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we not sex trafficking. We just like, yo, I don't tell chicks I want them to have my baby. Unless, like, I legitimately thought that that's a thing. Because I know that's like some shit. A bitch will end up killing you for that. But, you know how men text. You know what I mean? Like, you got a couple other girls, you might be gassing her up a little bit. I'm looking at this, obviously Diddy had a control problem, anger problem, definitely violent. He definitely felt like he was way more important than anybody else. But I do also see a woman who was in love with the lifestyle and probably was wondering how she fit in. Remember, all the moguls are with other stars. You're seeing the Beyoncés of the world. She's with Jay-Z. You're this woman who your music career is stalled. How do you keep being important to the guy who is always important? And I think for her, she was just like, well, I'm going to be the person who we get high together. Now, is it fair to say Diddy introduced her to a lifestyle that got her addicted to drugs and he's to be blamed for that? I don't know. Maybe that is fair, right? But maybe it's not. She's a grown adult. It's not like he took her from 19, and even then she's an adult. It's not like he took her from 16 and said, hey, let me introduce you to all these drugs. And then she becomes like this zombie that's off drugs all the time that we could kind of trace blame it to Diddy to say, yo, you got her hooked in all this shit, man. And this shit fucked up her life. The more I look at this Cassie situation, there was a woman looking for love. You could say anything. Oh, maybe it's how Diddy talked to her, treated her, how he fucked her, how whatever. She wanted him. Not to bring it up, but I have to. There's billions of men on this earth. Could it be it was just Diddy's personality and charm? Or could it be like some of the lifestyle she was experiencing? Private jets. She was moving around like she was the queen. Her friends seemed envious of the lifestyle she lived. And she was smart enough that when they tried to talk her out of leaving it, she would say, nah, I'm good. She would tell Kerry Morgan, nah, I'm not getting out of this. The assistant, when she said, yo, this is crazy. He says, yo, you know you could leave. She says, nah, I'm good. It felt like there were multiple times that she could have left. Now, might say this is manipulation, this and third, but then I bring in this other point. I wonder if because of Diddy's wealth and status, that hurts him. Because I don't think love is anything that's secluded to the rich and famous. But it's almost like Diddy is getting penalized because his wealth and lifestyle that this woman wanted. She not only wanted him, she wanted the wealth, the lifestyle. She wanted the cars. She wanted to be going to Ibiza. She wanted to be living this really luxurious lifestyle. Now that gets weaponized against Diddy because supposedly you are using it over her head. At no point did she say, let me go date a nigga from Walmart. At no point. At no point. So now the things that attracted her to you then get used or looked at like you're holding it over her head. Like she's entitled. She's entitled to be flying on private jets. She had 3 apartments. 1 house, 2 apartments. Driving a Jaguar. She had the driver waiting on her all day while she was doing all type of fuck shit. She's not even thinking about who paying it. Diddy's paying for it. Because if she acted up or whatever, they got in an argument, Diddy would remove those luxuries from her. That now become, oh, you're holding over her head. Oh, now because you can't live in my mansion and drive in my Rolls Royce. Oh, I'm holding over your head. But if you get with a regular guy, he don't got all that. So it's impossible. He don't even have the chance to hold it over your head. So now Diddy's wealth gets weaponized against him because you're coercing her by financially. Well, I could understand if it's like you're going to be homeless. This woman clearly was never going to be homeless. She went home to her parents multiple times in Connecticut. She was never going to be homeless. She wanted the private jet. She wanted the security. She wanted the chief of staffs and maids and personal assistants. She wanted to be jet setting Miami, Jamaica, LA, Ibiza. She wanted that. So if you deprive her of luxury, you're financially manipulating her. It's one thing if he's like, yo, if you don't do this, you're going to be sleeping on the street. You have nowhere to go. I have all your money in my bank account. She even says to him, I just want your love. I could pay this shit myself. I could pay for stuff myself. Now, granted, it's levels to the shit because Diddy's a different level. But here's the thing. It's not like this woman, when I think of financial manipulation or coercion, it's like, yo, if I don't pay for you, you're going to be on the streets. This woman was never about to be homeless. Listen, God forbid she had to not drive a Jaguar and drive a Honda. God forbid she couldn't go to Ibiza on the drop of a dime, and maybe she couldn't fly first class. She had to be the middle row in the back of the plane. God forbid she couldn't get the villa that cost 10 grand a night, and she probably had to go to the motherfucking Hyatt. Nothing wrong with the Hyatt. I like the Hyatt. God forbid that these luxuries were not there, and she would have to live a regular life. So because she was chasing opulence, she was chasing this grandiose lifestyle. If she didn't get it, or if she felt it was being taken from her, and she was willing to do things that it don't get taken from her, now you're manipulating her. You're holding it over her head. It's crazy times we live in. Now, I do understand that's not the only reason why they say this is sex trafficking. It's a lot of violence. I think no one could defend what Diddy's doing with violence. The shit Diddy was doing violently is disgusting. But I do believe we have to understand that this is a very complicated situation that I think some people are just trying to say is cut and dry. Diddy sex trafficked. Wait, it's very nuanced. This was a woman chasing love. Diddy was chasing his homoerotic freaks, kinks and freak-offs. They bonded on their needs and how each other could help their needs. It's like two addicts linking up. Anyway, it is lunchtime.
Omega forever. William,
we got some action here. Here we go.
Reno, I'll start with you. What's the theme from today?
Dawn Diddy. And look at her ass walking out of court. Look at her ass. Look at her ass. Dawn Richards court. Look at this. She was walking out of court. They was heckling the fuck out of her ass. Look at this. Look.
You'll be back on Monday?
Yo, she looked down bad, bro.
Cassie or like sweet Cassie? I know this have you been used maybe when you trying to see like Dawn, did he abuse you when you were in Danny the case?
We're not going to talk about the facts of the case right now.
What are the facts of the case? Can you tell us the facts? Dawn, what have you been up to or any music dropping? I know you're an artist first before anything. What did you?
Nah, they on her ass. I ain't gonna lie. There's another one. She walking. I know she ain't signing for this shit. She looks sad as fuck. I hate that for her. I definitely do hate that for her. Dawn Rich. Oh, I spelled her name wrong. That's what I mean. Dawn Richard. All right. Yo, this bitch ain't die yet? Fuck this hoe, man. Every time I see her, I get upset, man. Fuck that hoe, dog. Okay. What's this? All right, this girl. She look good. See, I like black women when they with natural hair. I don't care if your hair like this. This is beautiful to me. This chick look bad to me. To me, she look bad. Once you got that horse hair in your hair, I can't fuck with it, bro. You got to wear your hair. I don't care if you got Amber Rose shit, bro. That's just my personal preference, though. Why the fuck? Oh, yeah, they mentioned Usher's ass. Wait, why can't we find it? Man, they were heckling her a little bit more. What? Oh, right.
You'll be back on Monday?
Oh, no. We already seen this. No. Okay, I can't find it. Yo, did you see the girl that said she wanted to be... Ooh, I saved it. The girl that was heckling Myron, she was just right there. Yo, my boy Hitmaker in the building. Yo. Berg. Do I gotta come to Miami and me and you gotta we gotta talk about this. We gotta talk about this trial. We gotta talk about some shit. Yo, when Berg did my podcast, I like when Berg comes on my podcast, right? I'm gonna call him Hitmaker. You know, that's his name. But like, he's honest enough and he's solid enough in the industry where he's not like, you know, most of the times people want to tell you the truth. There's this misnomer among the audience that everybody who made it took a secret oath and wants to lie to y'all. No, we want to tell you exactly what we see. Now, here's the thing. Because of relationships and shit like that, not everybody could say everything they want, right? A lot of times people would want to give their opinion, but they can't. They're worried about their own status in the game. Few times enough you find a few people who they're solid enough that they could just speak their mind. Those people I like. Hitmaker, one of them, okay? Not only his catalog, not only his talent, not only his contributions to the game so far, he's a nigga who, if we talking about anything, he gonna be able to say what he want. He gonna be able to say what he wants. So, Hitmaker, I know you say you're watching. You said take a shot for me. Well, I mixed it. You should pop back up, bro. Or I gotta come to Miami. You flaked on me last time. He hit me with the industry shit. So he was coming from LA to Miami. I'm in Miami. He's like, yo, Ak, when I come through, yo, we gonna get the spot, we gonna have mad chicks there. So I'm hyped. I'm like, Bird coming tonight. I'm about to be lit. Nigga did not hit me, bro. Industry shit, bro. Okay. What was I trying to pull up? Okay. Yeah, somebody sent it to me and I liked it. Give me 1 second. So that same girl, and I'm going to show you the madness of what's going on outside the courtroom, right? Here we go. This is like Emily knows everything. Here we go. What? That's what wrong? I did. EMI. About 15 minutes or so. So the day today is going to be over in 15 minutes. I'm going to get you caught up real quick. Okay? I'm going to get you caught up. Ooh. I'm going to get you caught up in real quick about what's going on the stand. Okay? And by the way, Snapper, thank you for hitting me up about that. I really thought I had a toilet clogged because that used to happen. I used to invite, like, this is back in the day, I used to invite mad bitches over here. So I used to have, like, never really parties, but I'd be like, y'all invite like 4 or 5 chicks. And them girls was not respecting my house. That's how I don't invite nobody else to my crib. They was not respecting my house. Again, as I said, I got a septic tank. These bitches, like, they come to my house, they trying to do whatever. You know, so they come here, like, they not trying to tell nobody, like, oh, I'm on my thing. So they go in the bathroom, they take out a tampon and flush this shit. That shit was fucking up my whole house, man. It's like, bitches like, yo, bro, it's okay. Just say you're in your period. Like, don't flush it in my shit. Like, so that cost me a lot of money. But anyway, I know it's TMI, but that didn't happen for a while. But that was fucking up my shit too. Like, niggas or bitches was coming here and just flushing tampons. And apparently a tampon, it goes down your pipe. I never knew tampons just soak water up. So now it blocks the whole pipe. Like, the chick don't want to just admit, like, yo, I'm on my period, so I'm good. I can't. She flushed the shit. If she put in the garbage, niggas might see it. She flushed the shit. Fuck up my whole house. So that was happening. By the way, if y'all live in a residential house, unless it's an apartment, that you could call a landlord, don't flush tampons. Don't. I'm serious. Somebody said I'm so capped. My nigga, if anybody owns a house, some of y'all don't own a house. I own a house. I'm telling you exactly what happened, bro. Anyway. All right. Just working out with it. That didn't happen this time. I think it's the septic tank being full. Because there's 3 bathrooms upstairs and I can't use it. They all come down to the same thing and the water gets stalled and the water starts leaking. So it's the same thing. All right. Sorry. All right, so we are here. And by the way, this is the afternoon session of the Diddy case. And remember, we kind of ended off with this new sex worker. So this new sex worker, this person's name is Sheree Hayes. He's called the Punisher. Let me try to figure out this real quick. We're not going to close that. We're not going to close that. We're not going to close that. We're gonna close all this actually. I was going on my thing. Shout to y'all. So we're trying to see who is the Punisher, right? Okay, we're gonna find it right now. Here we go. So if we go to Neighborhood Talk, they've released the images of the sex workers, but they have it like categorized, so I'll use them. Who's the Punisher? We got Jonathan Odie, Ash, Brian, Greg, Jake, Johnny. One of these people are the Punisher. I don't know who it is. Fuck. Regardless, the Punisher's real name is Sheree Hayes. Now, a real escort, if you Google their name, they're not going to have you find them. Let me Google their name. Oh, never mind. He's right here. Get punished. Okay. Say less. That was easy. Sheree Pun Hayes. So this is one of the prostitutes. And he buying a car with Diddy's money after he fucked Cassie. Okay, so this guy fucked Cassie. Why did Diddy love his bitch being fucked by niggas with bald hair? Is he a porn star? His partner is Hunko Manio? What the fuck is that? Press. Sheree, hold on. Let me see. Sheree Hayes. Hold on. By the way, I think he lied on the stand when they said, why did you get the name Punisher? You know what he said? He said, it was because of how aggressive he played at a basketball court. Because of how aggressive you played in a basketball court or how you fuck bitches? Let's look at these. Who is Sheree Hayes? When it comes to adult, okay, so he's an adult entertainer. Yeah, he's an adult entertainer. Okay. So Diddy picked a porn star. Wow. I wonder if this says anything about Diddy. Anyway, he's in court. His name is Sheree Hayes. He basically says he came in for a striptease. He was described that the striptease was for a small group of women. When he came in, it was only one woman. She was wearing a wig. She was wearing a bathrobe. And she told him, hey, listen, no one else is going to be here except my husband. And then said, hey, he just wants us to do a sexual scene with the baby oil, which I guess he agreed. They gave him $800. And according to him, the room was dimly lit, electric candles, bowls of water with bottles of baby oil in them. Wow. Why did he have the bottles of baby oil and water? Like it was bottle service. Like, what's wrong with this nigga? Chat, why do y'all think Diddy had the bottles of baby oil in bottles of water, in a bowl of water? Huh? By the way, chat, AD has accepted my fitness challenge. Me and AD are going to have an Olympic-style fitness challenge obstacle test. Who's the fittest? I'm confident I'll win that one. Don't worry. Okay. So it was dimly lit, electric candles, bottles of water with bowls of water with bottles of baby oil in them. It's like it was bottle service. Like they were treating that shit like it was like a fucking bottle of Ciroc. Huh. You think it was to warm him up or to cool him down? Well, does baby oil feel different if it's warm? Oh, people keep saying warming it up. So you think it was bowls of hot water? Now, again, maybe I got to step my freak up. Is warm baby oil like a thing? I didn't know the temperature of baby oil could help on how it feels on your body. I don't know about that. There's some freaks in here, I could tell. Somebody says it's called hot oil. Really? Oh. How, yo, who said that? Maine, what the fuck? I'm with you. How they know? Warmer makes it, yo, chat, I swear I didn't know heating up baby oil. Yo, chat, you know what I just bought? This is TMI too. But I'll tell y'all everything in one life. So good. So I'm trying to figure out a room. I'm actually about to build some rooms in here. I'm building a theater room myself. I'm about to do a massage room. No Diddy shit. Just like a massage room. Like a massage and a sauna room. And when I was like, I'm buying all the professional shit, it comes with certain shit that I was like, what the fuck? So there's a thing, it's like, there's a microwave. I bought a microwave that heats up towels. And I'm like, what the fuck? But I guess it's for like a hot towel, right? Then there's a hot oil. No, it's like a bottle. You put the oil bottle in and it heats up the oil. And I'm like, I'm thinking about massages I've ever gotten. I'm like, yeah, they did use like oil that was kind of hot. But I never knew that was a thing like that. Yeah, it's a spa room. That's what I'm trying to do. Chat, I don't like going nowhere, bro. I'm about to build a hair salon here that I could do my hair because I never want to go to a hair salon. And I want to build, what else? Oh, a feet thing, like a foot thingy. Yo, chat, 7 people used to live in my house, my nigga. I live here by myself. I want to build everything. I never want to leave this house. Nigga, I built paradise with here. When I bought this house, I said, this is paradise. I'm going to build everything I need. I never want to leave. Yo, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show y'all. This is no Diddy shit, though. Don't pull this in Diddy shit. It's right down there. Hold on. Now, I got to give y'all some context. I bought all this shit. Again, I don't leave my house, so I bring everything here. I don't want to go to a funky Chinese spot where them bitches is jerking every nigga off. I want to do everything in my house. So anyway, I bought this shit. Look what it say. So it's a bottle warmer. So now I'm like no Diddy, like. Now look at this. I swear. Watch, somebody gonna make a YouTube video like Act shows off his freak off supplies. It's a regular massages, bro, like nothing crazy. Massage oil. And then look, there's some shit like this. I don't know what this is. You just go like this, it like massage you. And then this is the shit. Because I got a couples massage before. I promise you. Chat, I'm the person, I'll go somewhere, and then I told you I spent $1 million on Amazon last year. When I go see some shit, I buy everything that I see in the spot. These are supposed to be the hot stones. So you ever get like a hot stone massage? All right, some of y'all broke. It's okay. But yeah, these get heated up, and then they get massaged. Like I don't know what you do with them type shit. This isn't freak off shit. This is just like, I'm never going to, listen, I built a gym in my house, which I don't use. I'm building a massage place that I hope I'm going to use. I never want to leave my house, okay? If you ask me if I could be locked in somewhere, lock me in my house. I'll never have to leave. That's always my goal. I don't even know how this works. It's still in the box. It's a massage oil bottle warmer. Shit. Fuck around. What is that? Aromatherapy, relaxing, romantic? Whoa, pause. I don't know. Y'all let me know. Is that the freak off starter kit or like maybe I'm just trying to live rich? I don't know. That's the freak off starter kit? No, I don't have an indoor pool. I have an outdoor pool. But is this a freak off starter kit? It says aphrodisiac. Ooh. I don't got no anal beads and shit like that like Diddy. And I don't got no fucking baby oil. Somebody said that's Diddy-ish. So now we can't get no more massages. It's over, right? So Diddy fucked up massages for all niggas. You know how I was going to build this thing to like get my feet done? Bro, my feet look like Shaq feet right now, bro. Like I be chipping like right now. Watch. This is going to be TMI. Don't look at the camera if you're a chat queen because I love you. And I want you to be attracted to me, low-key. Nigga, I just like peeled this off. This is like dead skin off of my feet. Yo, my feet is crazy. But, nigga, I don't want to go to some Chinese spot, have them talk crazy about me. Jin Chao, sandpaper. No, I don't want that. Bitch, come to my house. I got everything here. Whatever y'all got in there, I got in my house. I don't need to go to sandpaper. Bring sandpaper. Sandpaper. I don't know. No. Juntao, no. We're not doing no. Juntao, shut the fuck up. Okay. Shut up. I'm sorry. Get sandpaper. No, I don't want that. But I do need my feet done. My feet look crazy. Sandpaper. You know what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to get the big thing with the massage thing that you just put your foot in. And then I'm trying to find where you can find a thing where you can find the fishes. But I didn't know it's like real fishes, so you got to keep them alive. And I was like, oh, okay. You know the thing where the fish bites your foot? Oh, y'all know about that. I'm trying to teach about opulence, chat. Foot, fish, eat, dead skin. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Right here. Yeah, y'all never seen this? This is some real shit. The fisher-cure, the fish pedicure. But I didn't know I gotta like feed them and shit. I only feed Pluto. I ain't gonna feed no fucking fish to feed on me. What the fuck? With a fish pedicure, they eat dead skin. It look cool, but I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna do all that now. Chat, am I going down the Diddy route? Just let me know, because I don't want to go down there. Am I getting too close? I'm getting a little sauna. So what's happening is that I know, like, when I drink alcohol, I get a lot of water. Like, real talk, like, I know this is TMI. You see why my cheeks is puffy? Because, like, I drink a lot of, I take a lot of sugar in, and then I drink a lot of liquor, and my liver trying to balance everything out, my body starts storing water. So when I store water, for whatever, it's like I'm a chipmunk or like a fucking squirrel. The water gets stored in my cheek, in my gut first before anywhere. So my cheeks just puff up. So I hear that if you in a sauna, like after you drink, like I can't do the IV shit. I'm scared of needles. So I'm like, after I have a good night of drinking, I could probably just sit in the sauna and like let it soak out of me type shit. Pause. No Diddy, right? That's too freaky? That's not freaky. Yo, chat, I can't like do nothing to help myself. Chat, I'm trying to survive till 70 to entertain y'all. That's Diddy time? What? Wait, a sauna is Diddy time? Yo, chat, like, y'all gotta stop. A sauna? Erykah Badu was right. I sound diabetic. I ain't gonna lie. I think I might have been pre-diabetic. I ain't gonna cap with you. The fuck are those leeches? No. Y'all never seen this? This is like popping. Look. Look.
Yeah? Oh, I think I might know what we're doing. Are always yeah. I can't remember how we were
Yeah. I wonder if Jack
Look. Yeah, that's how it looks. You put your foot in there and the fishes eat the dead skin. But they only eat dead skin. Type shit, right? Somebody said lay off the hen dog. I told you I adjusted my diet a little bit. But y'all think this is weird? Yo, chat, is self-care Diddy-esque? Because it's all good. Because I be mad ashy in the mornings. People be like, why you don't put on lotion? I'm like, lathering up your body? That's gay. That's Diddy shit. rubbing lotion on your chest, like on your nipple area. That's some Diddy shit. I've been on that. So y'all tell me, is self-care Diddy shit or could I do it? I'm keeping a bean with y'all. I don't know if I can tell you the whole truth about, like, I told you I got the new bathroom, the new toilet upstairs, and y'all told me not to use the feature. So I was like, I had the remote in my hand. I was like, I ain't gonna hit the feature because chat don't like me using the feature. And then I just didn't see the need for toilet paper anymore. I'm just seeing, like, it was just, then I was like, damn, maybe I'm getting to the Diddy-esque shit. Yo, chat, I told y'all, that toilet I bought was the gateway to Diddyism. It was the gateway to Diddyism. All of a sudden, I get up over the toilet, I'm like, nah. Yo, let's hit the little button. I'm like, no, chat, I ain't tell y'all I used the feature yet. I ain't tell y'all. I see some of y'all trying to say I did. I ain't say I did. I'm just saying, like, I had the remote in my hand, and I was like playing with the remote, and it said like, you want to turn the toilet seat to like 92 degrees, and I said, well, that sounds good. Then I turned to 95, and then 99, and then 102, and then it said, you know what I mean? Do you want to, like, you got two options. There's something called a feminine wash. Now, I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. I didn't know what the feminine wash was. The feminine wash, I guess somehow they triangulate where you're supposed to have that, you know what I mean, that wet. Like, it's for females, that it's gonna hit the pussy, like after but they got something else. It's called a posterior wash. It's for where they think you're gonna have to, you know what I mean? Now, I was looking at that and I'm like, I'm a real chat nigga. Like, I ain't on no boss man D-Lo shit. Nigga, I'm straight as fuck. What the hell? So I was contemplating it and I was looking at it and I'm like, so if the feminine wash is gonna hit right where they think the feminine, you know, the wet, the pussy was at, what about the posterior wash? So I read the manual. So I'm on the toilet and I'm reading the manual and they said the posterior is kind of unisex. It gonna hit you right where so I'm there and I'm looking at the button and I think the button looking at me. I'm telling you, this is a fact. And I'm gonna leave the story there. Chat. Yo, y'all stop playing. Yo, who mentioned boss man D-Lo? You heard that nigga say he gonna shoot one of y'all, right? I swear, streaming is the best thing I ever did in life. This is so great. I get to just troll y'all and make fun. Nah, I ain't gonna lie though. I'm gonna tell y'all the full story another time. All right. Why are we talking about me? We not here for me. We here for the Diddy case. The fuck? Okay, let's get to it. What the hell? Yo, I'm telling you, why does... You know this is an ad for Twitter, right? Like, yo, Elon, because I'm covering the case, you're serving me up a so gay ad? Look at the ad. So gay. Who doesn't love hot male models on the beach? Nigga, this it's like they're thinking I'm Diddy because I'm reading about the Diddy case. What? Okay. Let's go back, Chad. All right. Here we go. Oh, shit. All right, cool. Damn, we didn't get to it. Fuck. Okay, here we go. Ooh, we got mad tweets we got to read. Hold on. We got to get through this. Hold on, Chad. Okay, cool. So, they come back. No, they took another break. What the fuck? So it says she went into, it says, did he come out? So remember, Cassie's like in a wig. She's kind of keeping her head down. She got on the thing, but she's kind of naked under the robe. They pay him $800. She tells him, hey, I'm doing some shit for my husband. Don't look at my husband. They ask her, does the husband come out? The husband's Diddy. Say, yes, he was naked, but I couldn't see his face. I could imagine he was like, ding, 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 ding. Like he probably, you know what I mean, the little Diddy bopped out there and shit. Cool. And he said he was wearing, so Diddy was wearing what a Muslim woman wore, which, by the way, Jules testified to this too. Diddy was wearing a handkerchief below the face, so it's like a handkerchief like covering down here, and he would have a baseball hat on like this. So all you've seen is this. Right? This is what you see. Hold on, I gotta make sure. Yeah. You seen this. Right? Cool. That's what you seen with Diddy. He had a bottle of Astroglide. One thing I gotta give Diddy credit on, man, he didn't believe in chafing at all, man. That boy always had some lubrication, right? AUSA says, how did you recognize the Astroglide? He says, well, I use it. It has a purple top. AUSA says, how did this end? He says, well, she went into the other room with him. When she came back, she asked me if I wanted to finish. I said no. If they were happy, I was happy. She gave me more money. So more than the 800, they gave more money. And I would imagine the money they're giving is like, all right, whatever you just seen here, shut the fuck up if you want more of this. And he said, did you do it again? 8 to 12 times. AUSA says, how'd you end up recognizing her? He says, well, I was a big fan of Mr. Combs and followed him on Instagram. I saw her on it. So remember, Cassie has a wig on, but you can see her face. Now, supposedly with Jules, she has a masquerade. I don't know if you ever seen a masquerade. You ever seen that? Like it's a masquerade. Look. Yeah, the masquerade mask will look like something like this, right? Yeah, like this, right? But if you have this with a wig and you're moving around, sometimes it could be people would not know who you are, right? AUSA says good time to break. They break. They come back. It says, how is these sessions scheduled? Sheree Hayes says, I'd be reached out at like 5 or 7 p.m. for later. They'd ask for a sexy scene, but I knew it would be more. So how would it start? It would start with baby oil. It was a sexy atmosphere. Combs would direct. So look like now Combs is speaking. Myron said yesterday Cassie would do a lot of the talking, even though it was on behalf of Combs, because when he was distrustful, he might have thought, like, for example, I ain't gonna lie to you, there's still people that recognize me, and I'm not even 1/1,000,000th as famous as Diddy. People recognize me on my voice. When I never showed my face before I went to Vegas one time, I'm walking through some shit, and I said something, I'm talking to the girl I'm with, and a dude said, yo, you know who you sound like? I never showed my face at that time. He said, you sound like Akademiks. And I was like, I realized he was a Chicago name, and I was like, oh no, I am Akademiks. But like, people could recognize you off your voice. So Diddy, from what Myron said, at times he would not speak. But it looked like maybe in this case he would speak. So how did the direction work? Sheree Hayes says, Combs might say, sit forward, move the camera. Or he would say what would happen sexually, you know? Like one time during sex, he dropped a stack of money and said, I like this shit. So looked like he was making it rain. on the fucking, right? So how much baby oil do you use? I said, a lot. We were supposed to be glistening as much as possible. How long would they last? It says for 4 hours, a lot of waiting, maybe 40 minutes or so. I was supposed to finish in a specific spot. So Diddy would tell him, nut on her left nipple. And that had to be where he nutted, right? So then what? He says she would leave with Mr. Combs for 10 to 15 minutes, which, by the way, corroborates the other story that Diddy would instruct the sex scene, have the guy ejaculate. When he ejaculates, usually, you know what he says, a specific spot. We could assume, use real nigga thinking lens. He would ejaculate on her. Then he would whisk her off into a side room, and they didn't know what happened. So maybe he's thinking, oh, they're in the bathroom, or he's getting her cleaned up. For what we know now, at the very minimum, he was having her scoop the nut off of her and rubbing it on him, right? By the way, he never saw Combs really do anything like that because he would have said it, right? Okay, he says she'd return in the bathroom and paid me $2,000 or $1,200 cash. So essentially, they give this guy $800 to start. If he nuts, he gets $2,000 more. So it'd be $2,800. Now, keep in mind, if this is being done multiple times, sometimes these freak offs was 4 days. The sexual session wasn't 4 days, so it would at least be 4 different strippers, right? Let's just do the math. I know it says $2,800 because it's $800 first and then $1,200 to $2,000 afterwards. Let's just average it to say the average is about $2,500 per prostitute per session. If they were having freak offs up to 3 to 4 times, potentially that's $10,000 a week. $10,000 a week times 52. How much is that, chat? Y'all let me know. Well, every 10 is going to be 100,000. So it's going to be $520,000. So he would pay sex workers, but you got to realize Diddy's up millions at this point. So his budget, like we're creating a budget for him, I guess, if we're just extrapolating on his frequency. $500,000 on sex workers. Diddy, he's getting his kink off. He's a billionaire. He's good. Then they ask, did you think that Miss Ventura was enjoying herself? Xavier says objection. Remember, Xavier was the person who was doing the cross of Daniel Phillips. And that was also a sex worker named Jules. By the way, the judge did sustain it. It says, did you use drugs? And Sheree Hayes says, I'm not a marijuana smoker, but I did pull a Bill Clinton. I was handed a joint. AUSA says, did you have performance issues? Hayes says, huh? Having the woman's partner there, yes. Which means this is the second guy who has mentioned that Diddy being there has affected his performance. The first guy, not only did he say Diddy being there affected his performance somewhat, his performance was completely altered when he saw Diddy put hands on him. AUSA says, did the issues affect your pay? There's another objection, probably from Donaldson. The judge says overruled, so they want him to answer. He says, I wasn't sure how they calculated it. One time, Mr. Combs threw condoms on the couch next to us. I struggled. It was a failure. Oh, wow. Okay, so the first time we ever heard that Diddy wanted them to use condoms. AUSA says, what happened? Says, they went out. I finished. She came back, and she thanked me for privacy. What? Did he jerk off by himself? Because he said they went out. Wow. What did you think would happen next? Sheree Hayes says, I was worried that I would not be used again. I hadn't done my job. He said, I want to see you fuck her. And I couldn't. So basically, Diddy was instructing him, I want to see you fuck her. And he couldn't do the job. AUSA says, are you writing a book? Sheree Hayes says, yes. A self-help book about my ED, which is erectile dysfunction. He says, it's advice. AUSA says, in your book, do you write about your time with Combs and Cassie? He says, yes, I call them married and a wealthy couple. Now, the reason why they're asking this is to kind of put a, it's kind of fuck up the what the defense is going to do. Because the defense has great, not only attorneys, but people who are investigating shit like this, they're going to be able to say, oh, no, we know that you're doing a book and you're referencing Cassie and Diddy. Sheree, AUSA says, how long is it? Sheree Hayes says 6 pages out of 186. I sensationalized it. I want it to be enjoyable. It was about highs and lows. AUSA says no further questions. Mr. Donaldson. Donaldson, who then, remember, he did the first sex worker. He's back for the second. I'll try to make this as harmless as possible. Congratulations on your book. What's it called? He says, In Search of Freezer Meat. What's harder than that? Donaldson said, good title. Donaldson says, you got a website? Sheree Hayes says, yes, I'm a co-owner. All the male dancers are independent contractors. Donaldson says, so you've been doing this for 25 years. Sheree Hayes says, well, really 30. It's coming up on a big anniversary. And Donaldson says, so you dance with them. He says, it's like a professional dry hump. Donaldson says, for 30 years, thousands of ladies, you try not to develop feelings for them, right? He says, yeah, you try not to. It's a job. Donaldson then says, but you talked to Cassie. Answer was, we were cordial. Donaldson then says, did she ask to be able to call you? The sex worker says, yes, just to be able to set up sessions. We never asked to talk. Was she comfortable with you? Sheree Hayes says, she said so. Donaldson says, did you have feelings for her? Sheree Hayes says, incorrect. Donaldson says, but you thought she was only doing this with you. Remember, so these sex workers didn't know there was other sex workers. They're thinking that they're the only one. So they're assuming, or they're asking a question in the line of thinking of, oh, you thought she only fucked you, right? Sheree Hayes says, yeah, that's correct. She said it was a special occasion. Donaldson says, so you did develop feelings for her? Sheree Hayes says, no, not correct. Donaldson says, well, you told the government, and then in the government notes, you say you developed feelings for her. Sheree Hayes says, that must have been taken out of context. Donaldson says, well, you use your 25 years of experience. And Sheree Hayes says, that was a different scene. I usually aim for humor. Donaldson then says, you wouldn't try to dry hump someone who didn't want to be dry humped, correct? Sheree says, yes, it's important to read the room. Donaldson says, so you read the room with Cassie and she wanted it. So they're trying to go along the line of Cassie was with it. AUSA says, objection. The judge agrees. By the way, all these objections and sustainments are because of these rules that have been consistently brought up to protect potential victims of sex act, that you're not shaming them to be like, oh, no, I think she wanted it. So that's why they don't want this person to testify to that, right? Donaldson says, was Mr. Combs' request that you penetrate? Sheree says, it was a demand, a strong suggestion at the very least. Donaldson says, Cassie paid you even when she canceled, right? Sheree says, yes. She paid me $500. Donaldson says, Mr. Hayes, I wish you success with your book. Hayes says, thank you. Judge says, redirect. The redirect says, hey, what made you think Cassie was enjoying herself? Sheree says, it was the first time unprotected. AUSA says, without the details. And Donaldson then says, objection. Now, it says, with Sheree, the Punisher, Hayes still on the stand, here's a sketch of him graciously gifted to whatever by Elizabeth Williams. AUSA says, no further questions. The judge says to Mr. Donaldson, do you want to recross? Donaldson says, yes. Let me ask this guy. What do you mean by it was steamy? Sheree says, I felt it was enjoyable for Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs. Okay? And by the way, this is another sketch that's been gifted to Inner City Press. It looked like they only asked that question, and the judge says, next government witness. Now they're calling another HSI agent, which is Special Agent Gerard Cannon. So where do you work? HSI Miami, in the National Security Group. AUSA says, in March 2024? says, yes, in the HSI human trafficking group, sex and labor in Miami. So what time did the search begin? So they're talking about the search at the Star Island mansion. It says, we started after 3 p.m. Why did you start after 3 p.m.? It says, well, we learned that Mr. Combs and his family were flying out the country. AUSA says, well, was there a pier on the property on Star Island? Agent Gannon says, yes, we had to monitor it. Why did you have to break open the gate? Agent Gannon says to make sure bad actors wouldn't have time to put those who would search in danger. AUSA says, what's this a photo of? Agent Gannon says the pool and the pier. They review the floor plan of Star Island, to Star Island, and AUSA says, what did you find here? He says, we found parts of AR-15 rifle, sex toys, and Astroglide. Agent Gannon says, these magazines were loaded with bullets. AUSA says, what do these show? Gannon says the serial number has been cut out or, filed off. Hold on. Filed off. AUSA says, let's turn to 2 more exhibits. What are these? Gannon says, the ammunition we found. AUSA says, and these platform high heels, how high are they? 7 inches. AUSA says, this might be a good place to break for the day. So they've broken for the day, chat. And in the break for the day, we'll give you a recap in a short second. But hold on, let me just close all these tabs.